work on you and your energy. And then that is going to naturally also attract people who are very healthy in their attachment style, so that when you both connect, you're both already fulfilled.
Welcome back to the Love Stories podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. I am thrilled to welcome my next guest to the show today. Annette Skye Oran is a co-founder, a VP of Business Development and Coaching Partnership at Cohere Incorporated, where she helps coaches and entrepreneurs launch and scale offers by blending energetics with strategy. With a vibrant online presence and a background as a certified transformational life coach and a former IFBB bikini pro, Annette empowers her community to build businesses and live lives they truly love. Oh, I had such an inspiring conversation with Annette about love and manifestation and how it's available to all of us. And although that she has this relationship now that she truly only always dreamed of. Oh, I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. And remember, stick around for the tip of the week at the end of the show.
Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. I'm Charlene Byars, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love.
Well, hey, Annette. Oh my goodness, she's here. I just want to say I am just so excited to have this conversation with you today because, I talk about this a lot. This podcast was truly created for all of us to realize that great love is available. And I believe with all my heart that women can also have, success, but they can also have success, when it comes to the matters of the heart. And so every once in a while, I get such a treat and I get to talk to women like you that truly genuinely have been able to create both in their lives, create a thriving business, but not only just a thriving business, girlfriend, create a yummy relationship with your man. And that's one thing I believe that is just possible. I just believe it's possible. So for you to be here today, and I know we're going to get to hear your story and your journey. And one thing that I'm really excited to talk to you about also is I have a lot of women that are married. And of course, we have a lot of women that are single that listen to the show. But often women that are married, they have this craving or this urge, not only to have this a really great relationship with their man, but they want to work with their person. And they're not sure, they're not sure. Is that good? Is that bad? What are the dynamics of that? But before we even get started,
Hi, I'm so grateful to be here, Charlene. And I just want to share with the listeners that, this is a beautiful opportunity for me to share even more about my relationship, because most of the work that I do is in business and helping people really set out, to create a business and a life they love. But it's very rare that I get a full hour just to talk about matters of the heart. So I'm so excited for this conversation, Charlene, and I know we're going to dive so deep.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Well, you know what? Let's start right there. Let's start from where it all began with you, and where did you grow up as a little girl? And did you grow up with a mom and a dad, siblings? What was it like for you?
Yeah, let me take you back. So I was actually born in Mexico City, Mexico. And I lived there till about the age of 4. My parents are married. Their story is really beautiful because, just to share a little bit about them, because they have a huge impact on why I have, attracted the healthy relationship that I have with my husband. And so they actually, when they met, they went pretty fast. They knew right away that they wanted to be together. They moved in together really quickly. They moved from Mexico City to Cancun. And so they really went turbo speed, which, as I'll share later, Paul and I also had that experience when we met. And so I really feel like growing up, I had this really beautiful example of what a loving marriage is. And I know that that's not very common to say, but my parents are still married. They love each other. They're so affectionate. They're just incredible human beings. And I want to highlight that because I do think that that's a very important foundation that I had growing up to see, what love was like, really, really seeing that as an example through my parents. So grew up in Mexico City, moved to San Diego when I was at about the age of 4. My dad was an airline pilot. So he was kind of like, in and out traveling, but very present still when he was home. And basically grew up in San Diego and Tijuana my entire life. At the age of 18, I knew that I wanted to travel the world. I'm a Sagittarius. So for those of you who are into astrology, Sagittarius, we tend to be very freedom-loving people. And so I knew that I wanted to kind of move abroad at the age of 18. And I did that. I moved to Canada. And that's when I really kind of set out to create my life like outside of, the life that my parents kind of helped me co-create up until 18. At 18, I moved on my own all the way to Canada, new country, new people, and so many adventures came from that. But what I would say is that that's really when, I started to just venture out into more of the kind of life that I wanted to create.
Yes.
Outside of the norm of what
Yes.
you were born into, like really kind of going into what do I really want?
What was on your heart? Like what genuinely was on your heart? Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so when you grew up, you mentioned that you were in an environment that your parents, for the most part, they had a healthy, loving relationship. So from the beginning that you were able to see those dynamics, which is huge. When it came to the matters of the heart for you as a little girl, would you say that you were a girl that, really fancied the boys pretty early on, or were you a little later into the boys? What was that like for you?
I love this. I would say when I was younger, like I was very much, into like the boys and all of this stuff and like just very, like young, feminine, like really kind of, flirty, if you will. When I started like puberty, probably right around there, I became very insecure. So there was an incident that happened in my life in the 6th grade where I'll just share it because this is the kind of
share it. Yeah, that's really good. We can get some reference to where we're at.
So in 6th grade, I had a best friend and her and I would always do everything together. Long story short, we had like a school camping trip that we went on. And at this camping trip, this is so random that I'm thinking about this, but we played spin the bottle.
Okay.
And so we played spin the bottle and the bottle landed on me and this boy.
Okay.
And so I leaned over to give him a kiss. Turns out my best friend had a huge crush on him. I didn't know. It separated our friendship. And from that moment, basically, long story short, I just felt abandoned because she like turned her back, told everybody basically that I was a slut and that me, and like it really became those incidents really become a huge thing in your life. And so when I look back, I can reference that and know it started there. So basically from 6th grade up until like 10th grade, I actually, instead of being the extroverted, like, spunky, extroverted, fun girl that I was naturally, I actually went inward and I became very insecure. And so this is a story that I tell often that people don't believe me, but I actually used to be really, really shy from like 7th grade till 10th grade. Super shy. Boys liked me. Like I got a lot of attention. I was also, I kind of developed very, very early on. And so, when people would like make comments about, my body
your
or
appearance and stuff.
Yes. I actually took that as like an insecurity versus like, oh, thank you. Like I'm getting validation. And it actually became an insecurity. And so, from the ages like 7th grade to 10th grade, boys liked me, but I was just kind of afraid to date
that makes so much sense because I think a lot of times, I always talk about, there's moments in time, really genuinely moments in time that really shape us and have us, at moments dim our lights. And so that being in puberty, having your BFF and really innocently, truly, genuinely, innocently, like, I don't know what just happened. And for you to have, that is such a big impact. So I can totally see that, girlfriend. I can totally see that. Now that put you in a state of, oof, I can't really be myself, because when I'm really, shining bright and I'm leaning into things, then, I lose my best friend. And we know, you guys, listen, that had nothing to do with Annette, so all of you, that had to do with her girlfriend, but still it played a place in you.
100%. Yeah. And so
That makes sense.
took a long time to unravel from. So like in high school, I sort of started to actually, what helped me start getting a little bit more my confidence and my light back was actually getting into sports. So
Okay.
I kind of channeled that energy to be like, okay, I don't feel super safe with women because they're going to turn their backs on me.
Totally.
I don't feel safe like dating because what if one of my friends likes this?
Yeah,
boy?
or and then they think, yes.
So I channeled a lot of my energy into sports, and that actually, like, it really helped my confidence in high school to get into sports, to really like bring my energy into something that I was really good at. So I ran track and field, cross country, all of that stuff. And I started getting more confident in the way that I, really showed up in the world again. And
That's
so
awesome.
I started kind of noticing some shifts, and obviously there were still lingering things like there always are. And one of the things that I noticed, actually, I started dating a lot of different, I mean, not a lot, but like a few.
She's like a lot. It's okay.
A few of my boyfriends in high school that I started to date, my parents started getting involved because they're like, Annette, you're starting to date people that you feel like you have to rescue. Why are you dating people that you feel like you have to rescue? Like, meaning I started dating the boys that were a little bit like bad boys, or like, I was like, no, I can turn them into like really good human beings. They're really good human beings at heart, but they're getting in trouble at school and things like that. So I kind of started dating the rebels. And my mom actually brought me to a psychologist because she was like, what's going on that is making you date these like bad boys?
Oh,
and
that's good. Girlfriend, your mama.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my mom was like, I feel like you need to go see somebody. And at the time I was like, do you think I'm crazy? Like, obviously, as a teenager, you're like, I don't want to go to a psychologist.
Yeah, and you're like, the bad boys are so cute, mom, whatever.
Yes, exactly. And the bad boys have a little bit of that like confidence, which I like, a little spice. But I found out through the psychologist, actually, she pointed out that my parents, yes, having the beautiful role model example of parents, there's obviously beauty in that, but the shadow in that is that I always saw my parents helping everyone and basically being like the rescuers of everybody.
Yep.
Their friends, their family members. And so I was modeling that.
That's all you knew.
Parents. Exactly. So I was like,
that's it. I want to say something about that. You guys, this is why these conversations are so good and so important. Because I think I say this every episode. So I'm going to say this again. We're not blaming our parents. Our parents do the best they can for the information that they have, for, the knowledge, the healing, the whatever that is. They are just doing what they can, but what the reality is whatever that is, of course it's going to affect us. Of course it is. And it can affect us, in slow little, I call them little drops. And then all of a sudden we're like, "Ooh, what's going on? What's going on?" It can really affect us in big ways, small ways, but it does play a factor. It does play a factor. So I get it. So you, even though you saw your parents, happy, lovey, and I know there's no perfect relationship, but for the most part, the way that you viewed your parents, you probably thought, oh my gosh, relationships are supposed to be perfect. And I'm going to help them, and I'm going to take care of this and take care of that. I can 100% see. And I think this is really, honestly, girlfriend, really relatable to a lot of us women. That, we think, our hearts are in the right place. We have good intentions, but we don't really understand what's going on. So we think that we're, helping. We think we're helping, but, we realize, and that's another thing why we're having these type of podcasts. We can't change anybody. No, that's not happening. I get that. So you find yourself, okay, honey, okay, this is good. Okay. So you find yourself now really attracting guys that you are, you have to be more of the savior. You have to, help them, or, they're going to change, or they're good, but they're going to get better. It's okay. But really in reality is that they had their own things that they needed to work on themselves. that had nothing to do with you, right?
So much of that. And it really did create a little bit of that, like, sense of me also kind of, when you surround yourself with the wrong people, you start being influenced, right?
Yes.
You're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And so I did notice some of my behaviors kind of started going downhill. And so my parents were very hands-on to be like, this has to change, because we see that if you keep dating these kinds of people, we know the road that, follows that. And so one of the benefits of me moving out of country was actually that my mom in particular, and my dad, but they were like, I really don't want this boy that you're seeing to be like your boyfriend long-term. And so we had an opportunity for me to go internationally to Canada. And I was pretty ready to make a change. I had this conscious awareness of like, I don't want to go down that track. I see his mom. I see the way his family is. I'm like, I don't want to go down that track. So I did have this moment of awareness of like, yep, I want to change my life. Let me move countries, because apparently that's the best way to change your life.
No, usually it is. Like, no, seriously. It's like you have to actually remove yourself from that environment, because think about that. Because it takes time to, you already had that awareness, but it takes time to really step into that maturity and really realize, it takes time to get away from that whole situation to realize, okay, that just wasn't good for me. But when we're in it, it's harder. It's harder.
Yeah. And the breaking point was having my first experience where my boyfriend at the time cheated on me. And so that was like, heartbreak, disappointment, also reinforcing the belief around sisterhood ones, because the girl who he cheated on me with was somebody who I knew. And so it was very like reinforced of like, oh, I can't trust women. And now I can't trust women. And now I can't trust men. Yes. So I'm like, let me just start over in Canada. And so I moved to Canada at 18. And, the transition of moving to a different country when you're 18 and you're still kind of a little bit awkward and insecure, there was another year of just feeling kind of out of place, really feeling insecure.
I can imagine my twins, my youngest are turning, boy and girl, they're turning 18 on Thursday. So I can imagine my Ella, and she's a very independent woman, but this is huge. I can imagine Ella, even though, like I said, she's actually a very independent girl, but that's a big deal. Like sending Ella to like Canada now?
Yes. And the beauty was that one of my kind of close-ish friends, one of my mom's friends' daughters was also moving to Canada. And so we actually roomed together. So I knew somebody that my mom knew. And so that helped a little bit. But it was
helped a little, but you're still on your own.
Yeah, you're still on your own. Like that was definitely, my parents tell me, like, we were crazy. Like we trusted you. We knew this was going to be better for you. And it was. And so I went through my little awkward period in Canada. And then let
me ask you this. Hold on. Let me ask you this. Please. So before you go to Canada, we already know that. So your environment is kind of with, the wrong crowd, the guy, and your parents like, oh yeah, you got to get her out of this. Yeah. And so they were like, okay. So they definitely, you were, like you said, you were ready to go. You wanted to change, but having the support of your parents has helped you also push you. I got that.
Huge.
What was your mindset, girlfriend, in the sense of when it came to, were you still thinking, okay, I definitely still want, to have a boyfriend one day, or, I want to get married, I want to have kids. Were you still in that? Or were you more like career oriented? Like what was going on with you? Yeah.
Truly, like I've talked about this with friends before, how there's certain women, and I don't think there's anything wrong with what I'm about to say, but there's certain women who they see the wedding, they see the marriage, like they want that to happen. I knew that was going to happen one day, but I've always been a little bit more like interested in like, what's my career and my passion and my path going to look like, and everything else is going to come together, versus like, I need to meet the right person. I was never in a rush for that, because I think there was always a deep inner trust that the time would come and I would know when the right person comes along.
Okay. So you were definitely excited. Oh, I love it. So you were definitely, you like, I know that's possible, but right now. Right now, like mama needs her own thing. I gotta start over. I want to explore. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the time when you're going to Canada and you're obviously going there for school, I think, right?
For school. Exactly.
Okay. What was your vision? Like, what was something that you wanted to do?
My vision at the time was, so I went to school for hospitality management. Out of all things, the reason I picked that is because one, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up at the time. And the only thing that made sense for me is I want to be around people and I want to be able to travel whenever I want. Those two things, I was always very clear that I wanted to work with amazing people and that I wanted to be able to just travel and live in different places. And so for me, hospitality management, when I researched like careers that let you do this, that was one of the recommendations of like, you can work for hotels, like, large chains, and every few years they can move you around.
Yes.
That was my vision at the time. And but when I moved to Canada, after school and everything like that, I manifested a job right away at the Hyatt, which is kind of what I wanted at the time. I wanted to like work my way up to like a Ritz-Carlton and, be a manager or something like that. That was my vision at the time. I was always very entrepreneurial. And so I always felt like, I was like, one day I'm going to open up my own hotel or my own restaurant and I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Because I always had that, even as a little girl.
So that was in you. That was in you.
I was the little girl who was going to Costco with my mom and pointing out that, oh, you can buy me this box of chocolates. I could sell them at school and make some profit. Like that was literally me growing up. And I had my little lemonade stands and I would sell chocolate and I would even make little bracelets and sell them at school. So like sales was in my blood.
You're like, I love it.
And so at the time I was like, I'm going to work my way up and eventually have some businesses, etc. So in Montreal, I start getting really into fitness once again.
Okay.
This time I got certified as a personal trainer, started working on myself because the first year of college, you gain the freshman 15.
The freshman, yeah.
That happened to me. And so again, insecurities. I'm like, I don't feel attractive. I also had braces my first year of college, which is really embarrassing. Like when you're brand new to a country, you have braces. I'm like,
and if you guys are not watching this on our YouTube channel, I mean, she's gorgeous. Like I'm just telling you right now. So when she's talking about, how she looked like you, and then you see her on the YouTube channel, you'll be like, what is she talking about?
I was a late bloomer. Trust me. If you see pictures, you'd be like, that's not you.
I love it.
So beginning of college, I'm like this dorky kind of like, chubby, like not to be like that on myself, but I wasn't.
I get it. Yeah, you were just kind of coming into yourself.
Yeah,
I got you.
Just feeling into myself. And so I get back into fitness and I keep highlighting this because fitness has really been this thing that has helped me in multiple parts of my life, just regain my confidence. And, you start looking good, you feel good, you start eating well, you radiate more. And so
it's huge. Talk about that for just a second. So seriously, because there's, for the listeners, okay, and I know we're sharing your story and we're really going to talk about other things too, but I want you to just talk about how important that is. And especially when it comes to, our actual confidence on how we show up.
Yes, I want to talk about that because I'm huge on energy. And back when I started in fitness, I didn't really pinpoint it in terms of energy, but whatever you eat, how you feel about yourself, your energy levels, your vitality, that all impacts your aura and your energy field. And so the brighter you are, literally the more attractive you are, not because you're necessarily changing anything physically, but it's about how you feel, right? And so that for me I've always said, if you want to change your life, first change the foundation, which is your health, your body, and your fitness. Like, really dial that piece in because everything else, your energy, your vitality, everything else is going to blossom from that place. And so that was my experience is, I went back into the gym and this time I got really into it where I was like, I'm going to be one of those girls on magazines.
Ooh.
I'm going to like that. I started like getting into manifestation. I read The Secret in high school, by the way, right before college. I read the book, The Secret, which was like a huge shift. I started to like realize how good I was at manifesting the things that I wanted. And so this year that I gained some weight, I was like, no problem. I can go to the gym. I'm going to work on my mindset. I'm going to change. And within 1 year, so going into the second year of college,
Okay.
I left for the summer,
Okay.
went to San Diego. When I came back, there was some kind of energetic shift. I also got my braces off at the same time.
Mama was feeling good. That's the shit. Mama was like, hallelujah. Hi.
Exactly. So I literally came back and I almost feel like my energy was like of a new person, like even like boys and even the girls, they were like, you look different, Annette. Like, what did you do? And I was like, oh, I got my braces removed. I got my hair done. Like, I'm feeling it, and I, like looked good. And so I really like regained my confidence again. I was kind of like that bright me again. And yeah, that really started impacting the way that I showed up in dating. I started dating again. I was making better decisions again. I was, noticing the types of opportunities that were coming my way. It was all through my energy field. And so that was my phase in Montreal. And I'll just share one thing that, kind of stands out when it comes to love is that that period of time in Montreal, I had my first healthy relationship.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you have, what was your first, like, really long-term, more healthier relationship?
Yeah, it was in Montreal. It was with a really, really sweet man named Josh. He was so kind to me and just like treated me like a total queen. And in full transparency, I can look back and be so grateful for those times. And I realize, which we'll talk about in this episode, is that our energies were mismatched in the sense that now I can see that he was a very feminine man.
Okay.
Which felt very nurturing to me at the time. But the like attraction, like seeing myself long-term with them wasn't there. But it was my first experience of like, oh, this is what it feels like.
A healthy man. It was like your first experience with a healthy man.
Yeah.
And again, nothing, what was his name?
Josh.
Okay, nothing against Josh. I have my oldest is named Josh, but nothing against Josh. But you realize now, which is really important that we're talking about this, that you can actually meet there. Because I truly believe this with all my heart. I believe that the majority of the men out there are great. They're great men out there, and they're great women. The majority, like literally the majority. There's only a little bit of ones that are not so good. But for the majority, I believe they're great. But this is what I say all the time. You can meet, honestly, genuinely, a great guy, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be in alignment. It's okay.
100%.
So, right? So you and Josh, so you meet Josh and you're like, oh, this is a sweetheart. He's a gentleman. He's treating me with kindness. But it also takes, and this is one thing, we talk about on the show, when it comes to the matters of the heart, and especially, when it comes to women and men, really what makes a relationship, not only just, for me, the most important thing is we start out with a friendship, 100%. It's literally, I call it, being with your best friend lover. But it's not just a friendship. We're not in platonic relationships. This is different. Yeah. But for it to have that, what I call the and the yin and the yang, you got to have polarity. Yes. And polarity comes when, especially, you, for real, being, you can tell that you are even though you're a go-getter, a businesswoman, and, you get things done, but your energy is very feminine. And for a feminine woman, believe it or not, ultimately when it comes, you guys, this is why this is important. When it comes to the matters of the heart, we are not going to be attracted to a man that is also in his feminine. We're going to be attracted to a man that's in his masculine, but it's not just masculine. There's so much more to it. And this is why I love to teach this, but masculine in a gentleman that's a masculine, that he's able to lead us women that are very strong, but we are able to jump into our feminine. So Mr. Josh didn't have a lot of the masculine energy is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And he was such a sweet soul.
But he's a sweet soul.
Friendship. Yeah, yes. We had the friendship. And, one day he came to surprise me at my apartment, and I was talking on Skype at the time with my girlfriend. And he overheard me saying, he's like my best friend, but I just don't see myself long-term with him.
Yeah.
And so that broke it off. And, I'm glad that it did in a sense, because, he's married, he's got beautiful children. And like, whenever I've seen pictures, like it just melts my heart because I'm like, I'm so happy. Like that.
You're like, it worked out because you had a good experience. And I said, every relationship, Annette, ladies, listen, every relationship is not going to be your forever. And that's actually okay. But we get to learn, even when I'm telling you, even the relationships that, people have been in and they're like, oh, that was toxic. That was bad. You know what? You get to grow. You get to learn. You get to take away from that. So how long were you with Josh?
I want to say maybe like 2 years.
Oh, so you were with Josh for a moment.
It was a while, like maybe a year and a half or 2 years. Yeah, it was a while. But yeah, so that happened. And then
that breaks up. You guys break up. And then where do you go after this?
Yeah, after this, I'm very, again, refocused on my career because I've always been very much like, what am I doing? And I started getting into business at this time. So my very first experience with business was right around this time. And I got a little bit of a taste of what it was like being a business owner through one of my friends who started a company where she would go to different corporations, basically different offices, and we would help train their staff to run half marathons. Like after work, whoever wanted to join us, and she would get paid for that. And then she would pay me. So I was kind of like her assistant at the time.
Yeah, fantastic.
A little bit of a taste of the fact that you could make money doing what you love in a way that doesn't even feel like work. Whenever I was in that experience, I started realizing, I'm like, wait, she's billing these companies this amount. We're running with these companies. Like, this is so easy. It doesn't feel like work. If she could do it, I could do it. And so that really got me in my entrepreneurial brain of like, okay, what am I creating? I started getting really dialed in my fitness journey. I don't know if you know this about me, Charlene, but I started competing.
No, I don't. I'm learning everything today, just like the listeners. This is amazing. Yeah. So you're fresh to us today.
I started getting so heavily into vision boards. And I remember actually Lori Harder. Do you know Lori Harder?
Yes.
She was on my vision board as like fitness goals. Like she was on my vision board. I was like, I'm going to look like her. I'm going to be on magazines like this. And so fast forward, going back into relationships. This is so fun to share relationships. I had this vision that I wanted to move to Vancouver and I wanted to go all in on my fitness journey and start a company and just like go all in on business. And then I ended up dating this guy. We like really fell for each other really fast. And turns out he got a job in Vancouver and was like, do you want to come live with me in Vancouver? Like it was like a total manifestation moment. It was wild. And I was like, of course. And truly for me, I'm just going to be very real with everybody.
Yes.
I've always been very much like, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And I've never, in those scenarios back then, I never thought too far ahead of like, I'm going to meet this guy. I'm going to like, I never even went there. I was like, this feels right now.
Okay.
Let's go. Yeah. Let's experience it.
How old are you at the time? At that time?
I'm like 20 years old.
Okay. So you're free in spirit. Okay.
22. Yeah, like 22, 21, 22, free spirit. I'm like, let's move to Vancouver. Wonderful relationship, beautiful like opportunity to, grow and, expand and live with somebody for the first time. That was my first experience living with somebody. And, when we lived in Vancouver, we got a place together. So it was very beautiful, but I really also kind of quickly within a year and a half, like before the 2-year mark, realized that there were a lot of unresolved things. And I won't get into detail, but there were a lot of unresolved like traumas that I noticed that at that point, I was like, I don't think I want to be the one to help them long-term overcome this. Like I just realized it wasn't for me long-term.
And that takes me back. Oh, this is good. Listen to this. And that takes me back to when you were in high school. Mm-hmm. That you right? Hold on. So it's kind of this is how we do it, ladies. This is really how it works. When you were in high school, you had a tendency, as you said, you don't know why, you don't know what was going on, but you were attracting more of guys that had a lot of stuff. They had, you had to. We got to get through. We got a lot of stuff here, buddy. Okay, and you thought I'm going to be able to, help them, save them. Okay, got it. Then you move forward and you finally met a relationship with a man. Okay, maybe I don't have to necessarily have to fix him, but this is not my forever. Like, this is not my forever. This is more just a good friend. Okay. Then this girlfriend, why do we do this? This is what happens. This is real. This is real.
Yeah.
Then you get out of that, right? And now you kind of are in a situation once again that you realize that, there's a lot of good, but there was a lot of things that you're like, oof. Oh, I don't know if I want to be the one that has to dive in here and deal with all the stuff that he hasn't dealt with yet.
Yes. And
How did you know that, girlfriend, at the time?
Totally. And it's making me reflect that had I not gone through that in high school, had I not gone through those lessons, I wouldn't have even had the awareness to be like, oh yeah, this is my stuff to deal with. I knew that because it was very difficult to communicate through difficult times.
Okay.
It was it would be an experience where we would it would be something small and it would turn into something huge where it would turn into like argument,
exhausting.
And I was like, I got way too much.
And then you had Mr. Calm and sweet, right? So you're like, oh no. Ladies, seriously, it is so important that we compare men. I am not even kidding you before we're married. No, that's what dating is about. That's what learning different people is, because you got to see how things are with different people and how they're showing up and how you feel. So I can imagine.
And it makes you realize what your values are. And for me, like, open communication has always been a very big thing for me. Now I realize that because, as I'll get to, my amazing husband now is literally like Mr. Communication and like being open, and we can talk about anything. And so I realized how important that was. And I did not feel like those needs were fulfilled in that way. And so I was like, you know what, before it's too long, I've always been like, you know what, if this isn't right, we gotta wrap this up now. And so
that's good, girlfriend. That's a good, wow. Because usually honestly, that skill doesn't happen until later on for women. So there was something in you that, like you said, there was that part when you were in high school and then you went and you moved away. There was something in you that you really genuinely started trusting that intuition, that gut.
It's that I started trusting myself. And I remember thinking life is too short to not feel fulfilled. And so if you don't feel fulfilled now, like, what makes you think you're going to feel fulfilled 10 years from now? And I remember asking myself that. I remember asking myself, like, if he were to not change for the next 10, 20 years, like, could I live with this? And I was like, honestly, no, I can't. And so I cut it off. Like, he really, really tried to like stay together, and I was very firm. I actually like moved out right away. My parents came to help me.
There goes those parents again. I love them.
Parents are amazing. Yes, they've helped me through so many moves. And so they helped me out. Like, it was a little bit chaotic, but it worked out, right? It worked out. And so after that, I did have a few like dating experiences here and there. But I was very, at that point, because I had now spent, almost 2 years with that ex-boyfriend, I started realizing, I'm like, you know what? The moment I notice the red flags, I'm going to be a lot quicker to be like, bye. And so I started.
That's so important.
I started dating this other guy who felt like there was a lot of like immediate, connection. And then my brother is very intuitive, and he had a dream that guy was like literally going to like suffocate me energetically. And I felt that like right when he told me, I'm like, you're right. Bye. Like, I'm sorry, I can't.
Wow. Ladies, you know what I love about this? No, seriously, Annette, this is so good. I love that you are talking about how, throughout your journey that, sometimes you got it right, but sometimes you didn't. But as time went by, you really started listening and tapping into that intuition, that like that energy, something's off, and believing yourself, believing the truth. Because I think that's where we get confused, because we will be dating a guy or we're in a relationship with a guy. And really, when I take women back, and it's just really for discovery, but when I take women back, they can see from the beginning, now that I look back, there were those red flags, but I ignored them. Yeah. Or there were the red flags, but I kept thinking, well, gosh, if I say anything, maybe we're not going to be together, and I don't want to be alone. So there was something in you that really leaned into that. Oh, that is so important.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out, Charlene, because I noticed that's something that I believe to be really, really true. And as I've reflected as to like why I'm able to tune into my intuition and all that stuff is because I feel like there's this strong belief that I have faith in things always working out best case scenario for me and for all of us who are really tuned in. Like when we're tuned in, life, the universe, God is wanting to give you every single thing that you deserve.
100%.
So having that strong belief, it's like, I can't lose. If it's not this, it's something better, because I know that this universe is so abundant that, there isn't just one thing available for one person. It's like, there's so many vast opportunities everywhere you look. And so I always had that strong sense of like, you know what, I'm always going to be okay. And I think that's so good. That's that trust of like, I'm going to be okay. And, I've never really like thought this, but I was like, even if I like end up alone by myself, like
I'll be okay.
I'll be okay. And so I never had this like scarcity feeling with relationships. And I do notice that I was never like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work out, it means I'm going to be single forever. And I want to share that because I've talked about this with friends. And I really feel like that's something to develop as women, or even just as humans, is this like non-attachment in a conscious way. Obviously, when we're all in on people, we're all in. And we know that like we love hard, but being able to be non-attached in a way where you could love someone so much and still know that whatever God has in store for you is the best case scenario. And so
it really is. It's truly, again, we're talking, I know we're talking about energies, and we're talking about really, what it is for us as women. When we talk about tapping into that, it is letting go of that control. And that is what we say when it comes to your feminine energy. It is allowing things to, it's not like you just sit there though, ladies. Okay. We're not talking about you're going to sit there in the corner and go, oh no, we're not talking about that. No, you got, you can be in action. You can still be doing things, but really genuinely up in here, allowing that to just say, you know what, whatever happens, I'm actually going to be okay. And that's a skill. We all have it. And sometimes we just don't know how to tap into it yet. And so I hope that this conversation, I hope you guys, if you're listening to this right now, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. Lean into this. Listen to what Annette is saying. Lean into this, because this has really guided her into where she's at in her life right now. And that's the best. Okay, so let me ask you this. Ooh, Annette, girlfriend. Ooh, here we go. So you get through this, that you with that one guy, you're living with him, and then you got out of that relationship, and then you kind of met, another bad boy or whatever he was. And your brother was like, and you're like, yeah, And so then that kind of ended. Yeah. When and how then did you meet your man, Mama Bear? Mama, like what happened here? Tell us, how did you meet your man?
Yeah, so I'm going to fast forward to one last relationship that I was
good. Yeah, tell us.
Because this is very significant to how I met my husband.
Okay, let's hear it.
I went through, I won't even get into all the life stuff, but life was lifing in 2014, sorry. I went through one of the peak of my fitness careers. I landed the magazines. I landed the high paying sponsorship. I was traveling.
You did. You got there. You got there with all that.
At my peak with all of that. And something happened with my health, with one of my eyes. I had a retinal detachment. Very long story short, I had to get surgery. I was out for like 6 months. I couldn't work. I couldn't look at a computer. I couldn't exercise. It was like it was like the universe. I remember my friend telling me this. My friend said, this is the way that God is realigning your vision for your life. And I remember that, and I was like, whoa, that's deep, because it was literally my vision. So I had to move to Mexico. It was a very long story, but I had to move to Mexico to live with family. It was kind of like kind of went through a little bit of a dark night of the soul.
Yeah, I hear you. That's huge, girlfriend, because you finally got to that peak and you're riding high and you're working as hard as you can, then all of a sudden, regardless, like if you want to or not want to, you were like having this huge that it was totally out of your hands. At that point, it was completely out of your hands.
Yeah, out of my hands.
I got you.
Surrendered. I was like, you know what? This is all gonna again come together somehow. And so I live with my family. You know, it's beautiful. I could look back and see all of the beauty in that. But of course, naturally, I was kind of like, I'm ready to go back out in the world again.
Okay.
And so at this time, I'm in the fitness industry. I managed to still keep this sponsorship, even though they don't know that
they don't know her eye.
They don't know. I'm like literally like my hair's like this. Anyway, it's a really like long story there, but things are still booming in the fitness world. And then eventually later, like years later, I start dating this guy who's in the fitness industry. So he actually lived in Phoenix. I started traveling to Phoenix and just like, you know, working with him, like kind of being involved a little bit in his business, stuff like that. And I ended up actually moving in with him, even though I saw the beige flags.
You saw the beige, again, you were back into like, I see him, but you know what? I'm back into like, I'm not sure. Let's see. Maybe this time it can work.
Let me see. Maybe this time it's a little different. Maybe it's a different opportunity. Who knows? Yeah. I end up like moving with him kind of, you know, partially, and right away noticed all the red flags. It didn't even take like 4 months till I saw all the red flags. And again, right away, I was like, I can't do this.
You're like, no, this is not going to work.
No, I can't. Like, I thought they were beige, but no, they're actually bright red.
They're like red. They're like, are they like bang?
They're all the brightest red flags that I've ever seen in my life.
You're like, damn, I thought they were red with the other guys, but damn, like, again, God is really trying to tell me something here.
Yes.
He's like, girlfriend, this is still not the one.
And I'm so grateful, Charlene, because I think that was the lessons that I received from that opportunity were the most beautiful ways to prepare me for deeper layers of self-trust, love, confidence in myself, and just true alignment as to what I did want. Because sometimes
you could have ended up, let me just say this again. And for the listeners that are listening to this, and you know this is so relatable. Come on, we've all been there. For the most part, I know there's some of you that have it, but that's okay, cool. But for the most part, we've all been there. We've been in relationships. We're like, ooh, I don't know why. Okay, hello. But often too, we stay in those relationships for a long time. So you had some guidance, girlfriend. Seriously.
Yeah. And thank you for making me realize this, Charlene, because I'm like, I've actually been very tapped into my intuition my whole life, and I've been really good at listening. Sometimes, obviously, I would see the beige flags.
You're human, mama. You're a girl. You're a woman. I got it. Yeah.
You want to see kind of what comes out of it. But truly, when I see the red flags, I'm like, there ain't no looking back. And I will peace out real quick.
Like, that's the deal. I mean, seriously. That is the truth. Mm-hmm. The red flags, our intuition, our gut is there for a reason. That's our guidance. That's the guidance. That they're there for a reason. So if that is showing up, if you're listening to this and that's showing up, and especially if you are a single woman right now and you're dating and the guy looks too good to be true. First of all, he is too good to be true because there's no perfect person. But if those red flags are showing up, you know what? Get out of there. Like this, it's okay. You know what? That's the whole point of getting to know different people. That's the whole point of not sticking around too long. But if they're there, I hope that you're listening loud and clear. They're there for guidance.
1000%. Yes. And so that experience, again, I broke that off. I did end up meeting amazing women in Phoenix, as I, still have in my life now. But I met some incredible women, and there was very clear guidance that I was meant to stay in Phoenix.
Okay. So
that experience brought me to Phoenix.
It did. Okay.
It connected me with the most amazing women that I've met. Okay. And that whole year after that relationship, I devoted to myself. I said, I'm not going to date, especially long term. I need to cleanse my energy field and figure out why I even attracted that experience in the first place.
Yeah.
there was like cheating involved and like all of this stuff. I was like,
bad to the bone.
What was my responsibility in this? Like, how did I attract this? I need to cleanse and like do the inner work so that this never happens again. And so that whole year was like a eat, pray, love year kind of, I was at the time also like doing good things with business, like business was growing.
That's right.
Good, and so I was able to travel and do things. And, that whole year was like the year of coming home to me.
Oh.
And they usually say that after you have those, most surrendered moments when you're least looking for love, that's when it shows up.
That's it.
That's when it shows up. I was like, oh, life is actually really good.
Like, I'm good.
And so February 14th of 2017, I went to lunch with some girlfriends and they were like, Annette, you need to get on Bumble. They convinced me to get on Bumble. They're like, Annette, how are you going to meet a guy? If you want to start dating, how are you going to meet a guy? You go to an all-girls gym, you work out, you don't drink, you don't go out. Like, how are you going to meet a man? And you don't want to.
You're not knocking on the door, Annette.
Yeah, like I'm like, isn't he going to come knocking at my door? And so I was like, you know what? This is kind of fun. Let's just see what's out there on Bumble. So my friend convinced
love it.
And I went on a few dates, and then I ended up my third date on Bumble. And those two first dates were like decent guys where I was like, oh, Bumble's like, you attract what you are and you attract what you're looking for. So I was like, I'm going to only attract the best people if I'm on Bumble. And so literally I attracted great guys, but I was like, not for me, right?
Yep.
Third guy, as I'm scrolling through, as I'm on my living room floor one night, I had just gotten back from Toronto. I was planning on moving to Toronto, and then I come back to Phoenix. I'm like, let's just see what's going on in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And literally Paul is right there. So I swiped right on Paul. We start chatting, and right away he starts asking me really deep questions. Like, he's asking me, oh, like what are like kind of more growth questions. Like, what's your favorite book? What's the last book you read? He kind of wanted to know, are we kind of on the same, like, are we interested in the same things? Like, let's not waste time. He wasn't like,
so good, Paul. We love Paul. We love Paul.
Yes. And then right away, he's like, I'd love to take you out on a date. How's this place, this time? Like,
did you hear that too, ladies? Look at that. Did you hear the right away? He progressed it quickly, which is Paul. We love Paul.
Yes. Within the first day, I think it was like literally so fast. And I'm like, oh, I love his leadership. He's already, proposing a date and a time. I don't have to figure things out myself. Like, I love this guy already. I mean, I didn't say that, but I was like, I like this guy,
He was really able to, that's what seriously, ladies, this is what we are attracted to. This is real. A man that's actually going to court us, a man that's going to take the lead, a man, again, it's not about control. It's about allowing that real, genuinely courtship polarity to happen naturally. So Mr. Paul had it from the beginning. Oh my goodness gracious.
And he came prepared because he has a background, like his mom's a coach. Like, he's just like, he's done the work. And so when I like just felt his presence, and I remember just being like, "Oh my goodness!"
No, go for it. Seriously. Let me ask you this: when you saw, because you're already liking the little Paul, and then you're like, I like how he's already. When you saw Paul, now was he there first, or were you there first? Wherever you guys met
there first. I'm always running like 5 or 10 minutes late.
Okay, perfect. And that's actually a little tip, ladies. If you're going on a date, always run about 5 minutes late. Don't get there exactly on. Yes, that's a good tip. Okay. Not 20 minutes late. Don't be rude. But it is make an entrance and build anticipation. But Miss Annette, Miss Feminine Woman, anyway, she already had that figured out. Okay. So so when you walked in, Mr. Paul was, sitting down wherever you were at.
Yeah.
For real. What was your first impression?
My first impression, I saw him and I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. I even thought, I'm like, he looks even better in person than in his
You're like, he handsome.
Yes, I'm like, dang. And like his energy, and like he looks at me across the room. And, And it's a hot, like June summer day. So I'm a little sweaty. And like, we sat at the bar at first before they seated us, and we just like dropped in. We talked that night about every deep thing that you could think of, not once asking each other like, oh, so what do you do about work? Like we actually talked about that like way later on, like I think the second date, but it was all like, oh my gosh, like going into childhood and deep things and past lives and like spiritual.
And then explain, okay, I want you to explain again to, for the listeners here, because we have women that are single, women that are married, all the things. What was the biggest difference between that energy with you and Paul and all the other men before? Not like you had so many men, but you know what I mean. Yeah, with all the other men that you've met before in your life, what was the true, genuine difference with Paul?
The feeling was just unlike anything I've felt before. It was this feeling of like presence, depth, safety. It's like I felt safe, and I felt his genuine heart. I felt like, I'm like, this guy is like the real deal. Like I'm even getting teary-eyed because I remember thinking like, this is like a good guy. Like this isn't like, he's not here to like mess around and just see who he can like, get with tonight. Like you could tell he's like looking for a partner, and he's a good guy who's got his shit together. Like I remember thinking, I'm like,
can I just say this? I'm so grateful that you're talking about this. Because what I said to you earlier, the reason why we created this show was to allow people to understand that, great love is available for all of us. And sometimes, like I always say, like we sometimes just kind of get in our way. We don't see it. But I always say that also, it's not just that. You are going to know. You're going to have, look at what you just said. I didn't put these words in your mouth. This was coming from Annette. But, the words that you said that are the most important things when it comes to finding your forever is that safety, that it's almost like you feel like you coming home.
Yeah.
I'm going to cry, and then I'm going to start crying. Like, seriously, like that's what I want women to understand. If you feel when you're with someone and it feels off and you got all those nervousness and those like that's actually a bad sign, because it should feel that you just, you're like, did we just, how long did we talk? Like time actually stops.
It does. It does. And like, you'll still feel.
You knew, Mama, didn't you?
They're like, they're not like nervousness, but they're like, you still feel like the butterflies because you're really into them, but you feel this like sense of safety and like trust and like, yes, it's such a beautiful feeling. And so we went turbo speed, Charlene. Like we just hit it off. Like we just knew. Like it was like this knowing. And I was still very unattached at first because I was planning to move to Toronto. And so I actually, within the first few dates, I told him, I'm like, I'm really like loving our time together. And like, I do have plans to move to Toronto in 6 months. Just FYI, I'm very open with whatever happens. Like, let's just trust life. Let's trust whatever's meant to be. But he was very clear and also sharing like, I want to do this together.
I want to be with you. You're it for me, babe.
Yeah. And at the time I was renting a condo in Gilbert with a girlfriend, and our time was almost up like 3 months after we met. And so obviously I didn't rush that conversation, but I said like, if I'm not going to move to Toronto, like I need to find a place. And he like within 3 months was like, I'm buying a place and I'd love to go see places with you. Like I would love to go. I know. And I was like, wait, what? Like,
what is happening? What is happening? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But again, showing like his seriousness right away. There was never, like I always tell people, like if you have to second guess if somebody likes you, they're not into you. I never
talk about that for a second. No, that's so perfect. Because I was going to ask you. So for the women that are single right now and they're listening to you and they've been single for a while and they haven't had the best of luck.
Yeah.
What is some advice that you were just talking about that you want to tell them right now?
I want to tell women, like, love yourself so much that you feel great being alone because you're having such fun in life and you're creating a beautiful life on your own. That's first and foremost, because I think that's the detached joy energy that, is very attractive, because nobody wants to be with somebody who's like needy and like needs a relationship. So that's first and foremost. But then also, work on you and your energy. And then that is going to naturally also attract people who are very healthy in their attachment style, so that when you both connect, there's going to be this sense of safety and you're both already fulfilled and you're just coming into each other's lives to enhance it even further together. So that's kind of what I experienced in that moment with Paul, where I was like, whoa, like this came at a time when I felt really good. And obviously there was so much more that I wanted to create, but like he was the type of person who also wanted to build together and create beautiful things. And so, it just flowed. And that's the thing. It's like when you know. And I really, really came to find that statement is true with my relationship with Paul.
And because we're going back to how you have been, listening to your intuition. And then sometimes you didn't listen to it and you knew what happened when you didn't listen to it. And by the time Paul came, you were like, oh, I got this. Like, I really, really am aware now of the difference between, when I'm kind of ignoring it, even though I'm feeling something's off, or when something is really, really right. And that's it right there. You guys, honestly, that's how you create that type of love, is truly, genuinely knowing it, how you feel around that person. Like, how do you feel? Like that something just feels completely right. Of course, it takes a little time to get to know someone, but you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it very early on if it's off or if it's not. And so that is okay. And I'm just going to say this to you, Annette. Remember, I'll tell you this. Okay, you guys, we're going to give you a little history here. So Annette was actually going to be a guest, in person. But my guest today, Miss Annette, she is traveling with her man. And I know, and on top of that, I told her, and she knows this because she's on podcasts and she's, she understands this. I said to her, I said, listen, this is going to go, the hour's going to go so fast. And you know what? And I just started with Annette. And so we
need a part 2. We need a part 2 and 3.
and because I'm just letting you guys know, I'm gonna wrap it up because Annette has a hard stop pretty soon, and I'm already putting her over her stop. But we're gonna wrap it up. But even though we're gonna wrap it up, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. I'm gonna have actually Paul and Annette on the show in the fall. So we're gonna get more into, I can't wait to hear Paul's perspective. And because not only they have just an incredible relationship, like really, honestly, one of the coolest friendships, but they have love and they got the polarity because Annette is so feminine and Paul's so masculine. But you guys, we were going to talk about also they work together. So they created this very successful business to the point, and you can talk a little bit because I know I can't keep you too long. So I'm trying to be respectful with your time because I would keep you all day. But anyway, they talk about, not only that she created this, and we're going to get into more of the details when they come back. But they created this really successful. I want her to tell us, how we can get in her world and what it's all about. But how they created this business. Not only that she is living one of her dreams. Her and her man are literally leaving in 10 days to go live. So, okay, can you wrap all that up for us really quick?
100%.
Okay.
So Paul and I'll start with the moving part. We're moving in 3 days. We're moving on Friday. We're going to, fulfill a lifelong dream of being some digital nomads for a few months, maybe a year. We're just going to see how it all flows. But we're starting in Spain in 3 days and just really excited about that. And then also, as Charlene mentioned, we own a business together. And so I would love our next podcast that we do with Paul to be about, one, how we've created a really thriving, beautiful relationship that I'm so, so grateful for. And also talk about the reality of what it's like working together with your partner and how that's like the next level of mastery with polarity and working together. And so
we need to hear that. We want you back, please.
Yes. So if everybody's excited to hear that, just let Charlene know. We're going to be back in the next few months live in person. And our business is called Cohere.live. So you could just check it out. Basically, what we do is we help business owners, coaches, healers, online service providers launch, sell, and deliver all of their services online. And so we help you with landing pages, payments, all of the systems that you need to run your business. And then we also help you with the strategy to know exactly how to scale your business online. And so check us out at Cohere.live. feel free to book a call with our team and we can share more about it. You can also access a demo on the platform. And and I'm excited for our part two.
So what is the best way then for them to get into your world? Is it
it's through Instagram. So if you go on to Instagram and just search at Annette Skye Oran, it's ANETTE and then ORAN. Instagram's the best way. Just tag us. If you're listening to this episode, if you enjoyed it, if you got some valuable golden nuggets, let us know. And I can't wait, Charlene, for our part 2 in October. It's going to be so good.
No, Annette, I'm just not even kidding you. I was so into your story and so into your journey. I mean, honestly, I say it went too fast. It was so good. You are dynamite. I'm just letting you know. You are amazing. Your story was incredible. Seriously, I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I really believe that the listeners and ladies, so like I said, she talked about, being a single woman, and she talked about how she has this career. And then ladies, if you're the ones that are married too, and that is something that you've wanted to have, a different freedom in your life when it comes to, building something, Annette is your girl. I'm not even kidding. Get into her world and start following her, because not only that she has this amazing relationship, you guys, so she's not just a woman just talking. She's a woman that's, walking the walk, talking the talk. And so she's had that success, and she's living one of her, like she said, a dream of traveling. Like, who doesn't want to do that? Like, how many times you hear people like, oh, I want to be virtual. I want to travel. Yeah, she's doing it. Thank you, Annette. Seriously. And is there anything before I get you off, because I know you're coming back, that you want to share real quick?
I would just say for everybody who's listening, if you're already listening to Charlene's show, that tells me that you have this big desire for love and success and everything that you're building in your life. And I just want to remind people that they can have it all, because I think sometimes there's this, message that's like, if you go into business, then, you most likely will be too busy or too in your masculine. And it's like, don't listen to any of that. You can have it all in this lifetime. And so just remember that. And I'm so grateful for you, Charlene. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much. No, thank you, Annette. I can't wait to have you back. And to next time, cheers to great love.
Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is one of the most powerful things Annette reminded me of in this episode is this. Your intuition is sacred, and it's safe to trust it. As women, we're often conditioned to second guess ourselves, to overthink, to overwork, to look outside of us for answers. But the truth is, that quiet whisper inside, it's not just a feeling, it's guidance. Whether it's your relationship, your business, your next big leap, your body and your heart already know the way. The real work, is slowing down enough to hear it and courageous enough to follow it. So this week, I want to invite you to do something simple but powerful. Put your hand on your heart. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what do I already know? Start there. You might be surprised how clear things become. That's a wrap. What a beautiful reminder from Annette that when we follow our intuition and trust the desires of our heart, life can surprise us in the most magical ways. I love hearing how she manifested her relationship, her businesses, and the life now she's living. And how it all started by listening to that quiet voice inside. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it's this. You don't need to know how everything will unfold. You just need to take the next aligned step. Keep dreaming, keep trusting. And as always, I'm right here with you. If you're loving these podcasts and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.